Hey guys, welcome back to Cooking with Chef Shelby. My name is Shelby, and today we're going to be making one of my favorites, apple pie. So, it's fall, it's cold, it's damp, and we want that wholesome, stick to your bones, buttery, flaky crust, and that's what we're going to teach you today. First thing we're going to start out with is some lovely flour, some butter, a little salt and sugar that I've mixed up in here, and some ice water. First step is to take your ice cold butter. It's got to be cold because we don't want it melting when we're working with it. We're going to chop that up into small pieces, just so it's easier to mix into the dough. So now we're going to take this butter, and we're going to put it on our surface here. It's a lot easier to work on than the cutting board, so if you've got a plain countertop at home, just clean it off really well, and then go ahead and put your dough and your butter right on there. We've got our flour. Right here we've got about 1.5 cups of flour. We're going to put that down here. We're going to put our butter right inside it. We're going to take our salt and our sugar mixture. We're going to sprinkle this on nice and evenly. And what we're going to do now, it's called cutting the butter into the flour. So I'm going to coat all of this butter into the flour, making sure it's all coated, and then we're going to start pushing our hands together, rubbing them together, and this is going to start smushing that up into the flour. The reason we're doing this is it makes it nice and flaky without melting the butter or beating it up. So we just keep going like this. It takes a few minutes. You want this to come to about the size of peas, and it'll start to feel almost like wet sand. So you just keep pushing it through. You can see the big squares of it are actually becoming small flat pieces, and it's all getting coated in that flour. This is what's going to make sure it stays flaky. Pushing it through, it seems like it takes a while, but keep going, it'll happen. It's starting to look like wet sand. Bring them all back together, make sure we're not missing any of that. Once you feel like you've got that up to the level that you want it to be, where there's no huge clumps, a few more whips here, we'll get this all evened out. You can see that all the flour is now mixed into it. 3 cups here. Perfect, that's what we're going for. So now when we actually make a dough out of this, we're still going to have some chunks of butter floating around in that dough. We get some really good flavor. Alright, so now that we've got this like this, we need to make this a dough. In order to do that, what we have to do is add some ice water. If you go with warm water, it's just going to melt that butter. So, a tablespoon at a time. Make sure you don't get any ice cubes into it. I'm going to pour that over here. About 5 tablespoons, but I stop at 4 just in case. We can always add more. So now we're going to bring them together in the well, and this is going to make us form our dough. Once it starts to come together, we're going to knead it a little bit. All we're trying to do is to bring this together. If you work it too much, what happens is your dough is going to be tough, your pie's not going to be flaky. Nobody likes a tough pie crust. So once that just comes together, just like that, you want to take it, make it into a disc, flatten it out a bit. We're going to wrap this in plastic wrap. We're going to put it in the fridge. Now this is going to chill in the fridge for about 20 minutes to a half hour. You could even leave it overnight. It doesn't make a difference. You can make it ahead. Keep this in the fridge ready for you. So we pulled our crust out of the fridge. It's been about 20 minutes. It's cold. So we're gonna let this sit here for a few minutes, do its thing and chill out. In the meantime, what we can do is we can get our apples ready. So what I've done here is I've got 6 to 8 apples that would be peeled, cored, and then sliced. Best apples to use for a pie are going to be your Macintosh, or your Granny Smith, your Honey Crisp, and these ones here are Spartan apples. They're really sweet, they give a really good crisp, and they hold their shape when they're baking. So what we're going to do is peel these. Now if you have a little skin left on it, it doesn't hurt anybody, it's just a little bit extra color in the pie. Give it a decent peel. We're going to cut this in half. Take out our core. Take out that core, very careful. And we're just going to slice it. It's super easy, nice and thin. And then into the bowl these are going to go with the rest of the apples. Now into this bowl here, we're going to add our sugar. Tablespoons of flour, and about a tablespoon of cinnamon. Just give this a nice little toss here, make sure all the apples get covered. Right. We're also going to take a lemon, cut it in half. We're going to juice that lemon right over top. Bring it in a cup like this, just so it catches any of the seeds. We'll put that to the side. Giving that another little toss again. And this is ready to just sit and wait until we've got our pie crust ready. So now the fun part. We're going to work this dough out. First thing you're going to need is some table flour. You're just going to take regular all-purpose flour and sprinkle that over top of your surface here. The dough down, and we're going to make sure that the dough has some nice flour on top of it too. It's going to take some muscle. Gotta put your body weight into it. But we're going to start rolling this guy out. If it starts cracking a bit, don't worry too much. We can always push that back together before we bake it. So small, even rolls. Flatten it out. A 1/4 inch is what we're aiming for. Down. We're going to lift it up very carefully. We're going to put it back onto the dough surface or floured surface. Go. We're going to roll it the opposite direction. So this pie recipe is made for an 8-inch pie round. You can do a 9, maybe even a 10 if you push your dough really thin, but wouldn't quite recommend that. If you have a little dough left over, it's always good for little turnovers. If you have any apples left over or crumble, it's good for a dessert on its own. Just keep rolling and rotating until we get to the thickness that we want. About good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our pie plate. Just put this on here like this. It lets me know that it's big enough and that I can actually cut the edges off. And the trick to getting this off is that you're going to grab the edge here. You're going to roll it very, very slowly onto the rolling pin. So that when we need to put the pie crust back down, we can unroll it right on the tin. Just like this, we're going to put it in place. And we're going to slowly unroll. Now we lift this up, tuck these down, make sure that we're getting this full shape. See this little crack here? Not a big deal. And you just seal it back up. all cook together. Now we're going to take our knife and we're simply going to go all the way around the edge of the pie to trim off any excess. Around. Just like that. So we'll take this, put this to the side. Again, this is great for another dessert. You can use it again, re-roll it, wrap it up, put it in the freezer. I'm just going to make sure that this is all nice level edge. And now the fun part. So now you get to choose what type of an edge that you want to do on it. I like to use my fingers instead of a fork. So what we're going to do is we're going to make kind of a P like this. You're going to push in at this edge towards your finger and pinch. We're going to do that all the way around the edge. Give us a nice little scalloped edge here. All the way around the edge of the pie. Pinching and pushing to your finger. And then when this is baked, you'll see all those nice little edges there. Now that that's ready, we're going to take our apple mixture that we've already got here in the bowl ready and waiting, and we're going to evenly disperse this into the punch shell. Now the apples are going to cook down, so if it looks like you've got a lot of apples in the pie, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just keep adding them. I promise it will all fit. For a minute while we make our crumble. Alright, now for the crumble topping. We're going to need a few different ingredients, not much to be honest, but we definitely will need some butter, some brown sugar, cinnamon, vanilla, and some oats. So here I have about a half a cup of butter that we're going to throw into our bowl. This butter is going to be creamed with a cup of brown sugar. So we're just going to put that in the bowl here. I'm going to take my spatula, I'm going to press this into here, just like this. Sometimes the spatula likes to be difficult, so what we're going to do is just use our hands. We're just going to mix this butter up in here, squeeze it together, mix it in with the brown sugar until it's all consistent. Looks like a lot of brown sugar. This is going to make a nice big topping at the top of the pie. Now that that's all mixed in, evenly with the butter and the brown sugar, we're going to add some cinnamon. Wouldn't be apple pie without cinnamon. And mixing that in there nicely. A little splash of vanilla. So now we're going to add some vanilla. A little splash here. Don't even need to measure it. Vanilla is one of those things that a little bit extra never hurts anybody. So now we've got this lovely paste. To that we're going to add our oats. This is about 3/4 of a cup. Now to this mixture we're going to add our flour. So I just sprinkle that in here. It's 3/4 of a cup. And now what we're going to do is combine this until it becomes a crumble. I like to use my hands because it doesn't squish it all down. It makes it nice and light and fluffy. You can feel when it's actually worked in properly. Really don't need many tools for this pie actually. A rolling pin, a knife, a peeler, and some measuring utensils, and you're pretty much there. It starts crumbling into pieces. It's no longer a big mass of butter and sugar. Just like that. Now what we're going to do, take our pie, very carefully, we're going to cover it. I like to use my hand here as a guard, trying to stop everything from falling off. Acts like a little bit of an edge. We're going to start piling this nice and high. Call this a mile high apple crumb pie, I guess. Take it around here, and the side. Just keep covering it. I think the hardest part about making a pie is waiting for it to finish cooking. Cool it, let's see if you can actually eat it. So we're going to turn this all the way around. This on top here. Great. This bad boy is ready to go in the oven. So what we're going to do is put it on a baking sheet. Makes life a lot easier to take it in and out of the oven. It also helps get more of an even bake on the bottom of it. So let's make our way to the oven and we'll get this in there. All right, so this has been in the oven for about an hour, hour and 10 minutes. You gotta keep an eye on it. You wanna make sure that your edges are brown and you'll see it bubbling away. This has been at 325 degrees. So I'm just gonna take it off here like this. Get this out of the way. Let's see. We are. So you've got all the lovely apple, the crumble on top. Mile high apple crumble pie. Thank you guys for joining. Have a great day and we'll see you soon.